Okay, I was born in Mineola in 1924, in a location close to where the old ice plant used to be, south of the gazebo right now. You know where the location is. And then my family, my dad moved here from Mahal, which was a boom town. He moved here, bought a tailor shop. And so that's the way we came to Mineola in 1924. And then he built a home on North Pacific, in about 1930. And then my mother didn't want to move I went to Mineola High School, all the schools in Mineola. But my mother didn't want to move from that location, so in 1940, he moved the house over to Newsom and built a two-story house where a judge lives now. And then later he built the red brick house on the corner next to it. So all my roots are in Mineola. I went into the service I went to Rice Institute from Mineola High School, and while I was there in the Naval Reserve, we were called to active duty, and our commission as an ensign in the Navy and went to the South Pacific. And after that, came back, met my beautiful wife, Frances, and we got engaged. Then when I finished Rice, then it changed the name from Rice Institute to Rice University, and I got my degree there, but I decided to come back and go in business with my dad. And so we were in business in Mineola. I entered the business in 1948, and we let the business grow a little bit. 1962, we opened a store in Athens. 67, we opened a store in Tyler, and then in 69, we opened in the mall in Tyler. So we operated 4 stores in East Texas till 1995, when the atmosphere, or the model, the role model, the type model store that I had, our model plan, wasn't the type that was going to go forward. So I thought it was time to close the stores and seek other fields. So I closed the stores in 1995. And I'd gone into the banking business in Mineola. In 1978, we opened the first time a bank. Mineola had 2 banks since the Depression era. And we opened Mineola State Bank, which is now Capital One. So I served as chairman of the board there until we merged with First Service Bank. And then I stayed in the Naval Reserve and retired from the Naval Reserve in 1975 with the rank of captain. But in the meantime, I told my wife one day in 1960 I was going to buy an MG, and she thought I was kidding. So I bought a used MG, which was part of our family. Then in 1970, I came in one day and said I thought I was going to buy an airplane. I'd gotten my license on the GI Bill when we graduated, on the GI Bill when I got out of the service in 1946, and I'd always wanted an airplane. And she thought I was kidding, so she said, go ahead. And I came home and I said, you want to come see my new airplane? That was in 1970. In 1973, I bought this airplane that we're looking at. It was a 1972 Bonanza. I'm the only owner. It was registered to me as November 850 Tango in July 1973. So that's the history of this air, of where I am now. I bought this plane in 1973, and before I had a Debonair, and I didn't know whether my straight-tailed Debonair was allowed in the American Bonanza Society or not, which had started a few years before. And I wrote and asked, and I was welcome. So I was a member of the American Bonanza Society and have been still. It's a group of pilots that all own Bonanzas. It's the largest, we call it type club, type being Bonanza type. You've got different type airplanes. It's the largest type club in the world, over 10,000 members, and they all own Bonanzas. And they're all quite active, and we interchange a lot of experiences, and we get a lot of good from our organization. And then a friend of mine, Frank Hale, and Doc Wisner, whose wife, Janice Wisner, still lives here, were quite active Bonanza pilots in the 70s, and wanted to be the first to fly around 2 planes together formation around the world. And so I followed Frank and Howard as they went on their trip. They were trying to set a speed record, but they had some mechanical problems along the way, so, but they went around fine. And then in 1986, the centennial of the United States, bicentennial, I mean of Texas, the bicentennial. The same time the state of South Australia was celebrating the centennial, and so a group of pilots decided we were going to be the Texas Air Force, which would fly from Texas to Adelaide, Australia, or into Australia to celebrate both having the centennial the same year. And doing that, we got sanctioned by the government body that be, and everybody is the Texas Centennial Air Force. So we bicentennial Air Force. So we put it together, and by then thinking, well, if we're going to go that far, we might as well go around the world. So 5 airplanes went around the world. That was my first trip, and my co-pilot at that time and I then talking to people where we would stop and we would meet other people that make their living called ferry pilots that pilot airplanes from one place to the other for hire. Told us about different places that we hadn't seen. So he and I decided that in 1990 we'd go by ourselves so we could see those places. So we went around the world again alone in 1990, and it was quite an experience, stopping places like the Seychelles and Cape Town, and it was quite an experience. And that drew us into an organization called Earthrounders. And if anybody's interested, then go to www.earthrounders.com and read about people that have flown around the world, their experiences, and there's a complete log, and we have a webmaster that lives in Australia that keeps up with all of it. It's a very interesting website. I think it was 3 years ago, it's 3 or 4, each year at the annual meeting of, called an aviation meeting of TxDOT Aviation Department sponsors, they select throughout the state airports, and then they select which airport has the most improvement, does the most thing, and they give that airport the airport of the year. And I forget which year, but it's about 3 years ago, this airport was selected for airport of the year. Well, unknown to me, there was a movement from some people around the community and connected with the airport, went to the county commissioners and city commissioners and so forth, and changing the name of the airport from Wood County Airport to Wood County Airport Collins Field, which is like Tyler Airport, Pounds Field. And I'm very honored that they've done that. I guess it's because of the work that I've done on the airport.
With all this stuff that you've done in your life, what would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments, or what are you most proud of?
Finding and marrying my beautiful wife, Frances, by far, which started our family, which I'm very proud of.